Hello everyone, welcome to another episode of Lightroom tutorials. In this week I'm going to talk about the Lightroom linear gradient filter. It is a very powerful tool for making localized photo adjustments. It allows you to apply changes to only a specific area of your photo, typically in a linear or a straight line gradient. I prepared four images to discuss about. I'm going to start with the very simple one, which is this photo here. Of course, you can go ahead and do all the normal adjustments, the global adjustments that you want to apply to the image that I have done, as you can see here. The only thing is at the right-hand side of the photo, it's brighter than the left-hand side. If I want to make it darker, then everything gets darker. That is not my point. I want to maintain the brightness here, but darken just the right side. That comes handy to use the Lightroom linear gradient. So I picked up the linear gradient. I'm going to click in this part of the image and drag it. I'm going to go a little bit diagonal. Now I'm going to explain how it goes. From the starting point all the way to the first line, it takes 100% of the adjustment, whatever adjustment you do. Whether it's exposure, saturation, contrast, blurred, whatever it is, it would be 100%. From the first line to the second line would be 100% to 50%. And from the second line to the third line would be 50% to 0. So to show you, I'm going to darken it a lot. And you can see from the starting point to the first line, it got the 100% of the adjustments. From here up to second line, 50%. And when it comes to the third line, there is 0 adjustments. There is no difference between here and here. Now that I selected that, I'm going to adjust it properly. That should do it. And the other thing that I will do here is a little bit of dehaze, not a lot, just a touch. Now, after adjusting the dehaze, I need to readjust my exposure. All right. Now, the good thing is it's not permanent. For instance, I can move it around, or I can change the feathering. The feathering allows the adjustment to blend better with the image. So here is before and after. You notice that this little adjustments really helped the photo to be not as distracted. The bright side is not as distracted. Now, in the next image, there's no adjustments here. So I'm going to do the adjustments and then going for the local adjustment, which is the masking. First of all, I'm going to select landscape. So it made a little bit of improvement. The white balance looks good. I don't need to do anything. Exposure, if I reduce the exposure, it darkens the foreground. If I brighten the foreground, the sky is washed out. So that's why I'm not going to do anything about the exposure. I leave it as it is. Highlights. I can drop the highlights a bit and open up the shadows. This little adjustment, these two adjustments helped to bring out the photo into life. You can see before and after. Because I'm going to do the masking, I'm going to increase the whites. I'm not doing anything about the blacks. Texture, add a little bit of sharpness to my image. I'm not touching the clarity, but dehaze helps a little. Now, vibrance or saturation, it's your choice. Here is before and after. Now, after doing all of these adjustments, the sky is a little bit bright, still bright, and the left-hand side of the image is dark. That comes handy with the linear gradient that I'm going to pick up here, going in diagonal again, and something like that. Now, I can increase the exposure, but when you look at this part of the image, because it was in the shade, we have a blue color cast. So now I have to adjust the temperature. It matched nicely with the rest of the railing, and a little bit of saturation will help. All right, now a little bit brighter, like so. Now, because this tutorial is all about the linear gradient, I'm not getting into the other options, but what you can do here, you can just go and select the sky. It's an AI-based filter, and then you can adjust the sky a little bit better. So here is before and after. A big improvement in the picture. The next image is a little bit more complicated, and I want to show all the options that you have for the linear gradient. As you can see, I have done a little bit of adjustments because I didn't want to take time to do that. Now, if I go for linear gradient and I want to darken the right-hand side of the image, so I click here and drag it like that. And I'm going to darken. That's good. But as you can see, the tree, the leaves of the tree, that got darker too. That was not my intention. I wanted to keep them as bright as they were. So here we have a good option as add or subtract. I can add to the portion or I can subtract from the portion. For subtract, I can use all these different tools. But if I use brush, it's a pain to go and brush all the leaves here. Rather doing that, I'm going to select the color range. So the eyedropper allows me to pick up a color to subtract from the adjustment. So I'm going to pick up the orange here, and you notice that it took away the adjustment from the orange. Now I can just darken the sky furthermore. That's for this part. Now on the left hand side, I have the bench here, and the bench is in the shade. You cannot see it, but that is one of the points of my photo. I'm going to select another linear gradient, and this time I'm going to go like so. Actually, I'm going to increase the feather. Now I'm going to brighten that area, adding a little bit of white to that. Because I brightened the area, it needs saturation. So I'm going to add saturation here. It looks good, but I want to darken that light patch to matches with the other or brighten the other one. Here again, I can add with my brush to this area. So that area that didn't take the adjustments, I added with the brush, as you can see here, uh, right there. So I can keep brushing to add these parts to my adjustments. Now I'm going to go a little bit extreme for you to see. So see, it brightens just the parts that I brushed. Now, the last image, let me just show you before and after in this photo. Before, after. The last photo is again one of those complicated situations. In this photo, I haven't done any adjustments. So let's start with the landscape. And I'm not touching the exposure right for now. I'm going to reduce the highlights, open up the shadows, and let's add a little bit of dehaze and the vibrance. Okay, now the sky looks reasonably good, but the foreground is too dark. Again, let's go to linear mask, and I'm going to go this way. Okay, and let's open up the shadow a little bit, and of course saturation we need, and texture, a little bit dehaze. Now I have everything that I wanted to do, but see the foreground? It's too bright. I can go to subtract, select another linear gradient, and going like that. And of course, I can make the feathering. So, see the linear gradient? I subtracted the foreground. Now, that's without the subtraction. That's without the linear mask. And that's the linear mask. And if I go to before, after. Now, the overall exposure, I can drop it furthermore. And in the mask, I can brighten the mask. There we go. I hope you enjoyed that little tutorial. The linear mask has lots to offer. That's all for today. I will try to create uh, another tutorial and talk about, for instance, about all of these features that we have, how to subtract or add these features to our masks later on. Stay tuned for upcoming classes. Thank you so much. If you want to learn Lightroom and Photoshop, contact us to book a private session, either in person or online, and we can go from there. Have a nice day and talk to you soon.